I got a review for you here on the channel today, and we're going to finally review these WIAWIS MXT-XT Limbs from Win&Win. I've got the foam ones in my hand here. I've already shot the wood ones a little bit on my bare bow. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'll show you some close-up views of the limbs, talk about some of the new features, and then ultimately go outside and shoot them and let you know what I think about them. First and foremost, thanks to Win&Win for sending me these limbs for the sake of reviewing them on the channel. And full disclosure to you, the viewers, I did get these for free for the sake of a review. However, I only do that with one condition to the company that sends them to me. I will be honest first and foremost with the viewers no matter what I see. But if I see something very big and glaring, maybe there's an issue, I'll reach out to the company first, let them respond, and include the response in the video that they have to share on that. So no matter what, I'm just going to be honest and tell you exactly what I think, what I see, because ultimately I'm not sponsored by anyone on this channel, and I'm very happy to be impartial because I used to be a professional shooter and I used to have to say certain things. And now that I'm not sponsored, I can say anything I want about anything and just ultimately tell you the truth and tell you what I actually think about the products I'm reviewing on the channel. So, like I said, I already shot these limbs on my bare bow. I shot the wood version on the bare bow, and they're ultimately the same exact thing that you're seeing here, with the small exception of the core being wood and the graphics being blue on the foam and being orange on the wood. So if you see anything that is in blue, all over the limb, the sides, the back, the logos, anything that's blue would be orange on the wood limbs. And honestly, I like the blue better. Just looks a little bit better to me. And I did enjoy the wood limbs on my bare bow. Nice and smooth, nice and quiet, a little bit different feel to them. And I'm excited to try them on my Olympic style recurve and tell you what I think about them. I've been shooting the NS-XPs for quite some time, and I very much so enjoy them. I really like the bow jumping out of my hand super hard. But these limbs are supposedly a little bit smoother through the clicker zone. So, you know, Win&Win said that these MXT, which are marvelous, by the way, they are the Marvelous Extreme Bow Technology. That is what MXT stands for. So finally, we know what some of these letters stand for. So Marvelous Extreme Technology of the extreme variety. Maybe that's why it's XT after the MXT-XT. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't really matter. All I'm saying is I've found that the NS limbs are definitely a little stiffer through the clicker zone. So as I'm going to pull through the clicker, it tends to stack a little bit more. And so it feels a little bit more solid or stable when at full draw, which actually can be a good thing if you're a seasoned shooter and somebody who's really, really strong. But if maybe you have a longer draw length, or sometimes you maybe struggle to get through the clicker, especially under pressure, something like this limb might be a little bit better for you. It's just supposed to be a little bit smoother through the clicker zone. And eventually I will do a comparison of the NS-XP limbs versus these MXT-XT limbs. And we'll have some sort of comparison back and forth, maybe speed, mass weight, torsional rigidity or stiffness and things like that. And just ultimately kind of compare and contrast the limbs so you can actually check and get some really accurate draw force curves to see what the actual difference in feel would be. So that will be coming at some point in the future. The limbs themselves now look really, really nice. They feel very, very lightweight. I will get all the data on all my limbs as far as mass weight's concerned. But the torsional rigidity or the stiffness on these things seems to be off the charts. I feel like they're probably stiffer than the MXT-XP limbs. Just by hand, they just feel absolutely ridiculously stiff. And personally speaking, I'm happy to see more of a white limb. You know, a lot of these companies, especially Win&Win, are starting to put in these heat reflective coating pigments in their paint, but they're still sticking with black limbs, and black absorbs a lot of heat. So I really like to see the white because that's going to help reflect natural heat, or at least infrared radiation absorption a little bit, hopefully. So the limbs themselves look really, really nice. I have 2 complaints of the finish, very, very small complaints, but otherwise, if you check it out, minus my grubby hand fingerprints all over them already, you'll see that it's, you know, really glossy. There's very minimal orange peel, which is really nice to see. So they got a nice good flow coat that went out on the clear coat. Everything looks really well. Looks real nice, actually. Now, the tip, there's some stuff there I want to talk about. And one of the issues that I saw is right there on the tip. Looks like it got chipped on the very tip there. Very small ding. Probably banged on something as they were putting it in the case. And then on one of the limbs, now this is just me being extremely picky because these are $1,000, so I want to make sure you see everything that I see. And see there on the side, those two little like grayish splotches, and also on the other set of limbs, the wood ones, kind of somewhere out in this end, and actually on both of the tips. They got that spot. So it looks like they might be just setting them on something as they're being dried or moved around. I don't know, they both have the mark in the opposite spots. So I think it has something to do with the racking. Maybe they're not letting it dry enough before removing them and putting them off to the side, because they're both exactly identical in what I see. So I think they're just not letting them dry before they move them somewhere, and then they're popping off some of the clear coat as it pulls off. Not the clear coat, but the paint. Other than that, I'm not seeing any flaws in the paint. I just wanted you to see that. That looks like a little ghosting, meaning what I'm seeing there is probably when they were masking it to shoot the black, that the masking tape had maybe 2 rips in it or something like that, and some of the black got through because it looked like it was overspray, like either black or gray overspray on the front of the other limb. Very small and minor. I covered it actually in a couple of videos ago when I first started shooting these on barebow. So if you're looking to see how they feel on a barebow, I will have links in the description below and a card at the top up there to where you can check out that video of me shooting them on barebow, and you'll be able to get some feedback there. Also, if you are interested in grabbing a set of these or anything that you see on the channel as far as any of the products that I'm using, check out the links in the description below. There's a bunch of different links to various different products down there. Genuinely helps this channel out if you click those before you shop there. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell down below. Genuinely helps this channel grow, and I really appreciate it. One thing that is a little surprising is, again, they're changing the limb tips on these limbs. The shape of how they cut them and everything is slightly different compared to, you know, even just very recent past. And what I'm seeing on them is it looks a little bit uneven, actually. And I don't know why. We're going to find out if it's affecting the straightness of the limb. But it looks like to me that this side here is cut at a slightly different angle than this side here. This one seems to be more straight and steep, whereas this one seems to be more angled this way. So I am going to reach out to Win&Win, let them know that I'm seeing something there, and whatever they say, I will post as far as their response down in the description below, so you can check that out. We're going to find out, though, when I align them and see if it affects alignment, and then I'll pull them back and let them down and see if the string tracking is doing okay. It's a bit surprising because normally a lot of these kinds of things are either CNC done or they have a really nice jig that's holding them in place to work on them. These are made in Korea, so I'd be surprised if there's any sort of issue there that would result in them not tracking straight. But it's just something to note because it's not something that I've seen from Win&Win. Usually their limb tips are super symmetrical and you know, they know what they're doing there, but something's going on there, so we'll see what they have to say. But I didn't see string tracking issues on the wood version of these, and the wood versions have very similar shaped tips. So for whatever it's worth, I'm just seeing a little bit of change there that I'm not used to seeing in the past. Now the test riser that I will be shooting them on is this Meta LX. It actually just recently came in. This is considered their black version. So it's actually got a red detail on the bottom, and then the upper portion is black, and the black also has tons of flake in it as well. So I've already done a review on this Meta LX riser, not this one, a different one. I will have links in the description below and a card at the top up there in case you're interested in checking that out. I haven't put these limbs in this bow yet. Happy to see the limbs sticking in very, very nicely. Not super tight, so they'll be easy for people to install. They're not going to fall out when people are stringing them, which is nice. So what I'll do first is I'm going to do a preliminary setup. I'm going to get the limb alignment done, get my center shot set, tiller set, brace height set, and all that stuff, and then go from there. I will run a time lapse of me setting up this bow. If I find anything to note along the way, I'll let you know. Otherwise, after I'm done with this, we're gonna head outside, tune the bow at 30 meters, make sure it's tuned okay, and then we'll go back to 70 meters and I'll shoot around at 70 meters for score and let you know what I think about these limbs. Okay, so I got these limbs aligned, the center shot set, tiller set, brace height set, and I'm happy to report that when I unbolted the rest plate and bolted it on this bow from the white Meta LX that I originally reviewed onto this one, the center shot is identical, everything is good to go. So I'm really happy to report that. Also, the threads were a little more cleaned up here in this Meta LX for me compared to the other one. And bonus, one of these R-Core grips actually bolted onto the riser because the riser was a little bit thinner, so I could make it fit. And I'm happy to be able to shoot one of the grips that I've designed so my hand's not slipping and sliding all over the place. If you're interested in grabbing one of these, make sure you use code Kaminsky at checkout at R-Core and click the link down in the description below. That'll get you 10% off of any of the products that they offer. And they do ship worldwide, which is excellent. Also, when I was done aligning the limbs, I checked to see if I could see the limbs tracking not being centered, and they are in fact centered. So even though, and I have a picture here to show you, even though it's clearly obvious that the tip itself is shaped slightly different, I don't know if it's because of the torsional rigidity or stiffness of these limbs, but they track straight when I pull them back and check them for straightness. When I pull back like this, line it up and let it down slow, the string hits in the dead center of the limbs, and I don't have any complaints there. It just looks off, but other than that, I'm all ready to go to attempt to try and see. Actually need an Allen wrench. I gotta bump the rest height up just a smidge. Forgot to do that before I came out. Shoot a few arrows to warm up first. Sounds like something's loose. Maybe needs a brace height tweak, I don't know. It is very smooth through the clicker though. Bow doesn't jump as hard as the NX-Xp Limbs, but I would say I can definitely feel a little bit of residual hum afterwards. These feel more like foam limbs, because they are foam limbs obviously, but they don't have the soft feel on delivery that the wood limbs do, that I actually have really come to like, because my performance test a while ago on the MXT-10 limbs, I believe, comparing the wood versus foam, there was literally no difference in performance, but the woods felt so much smoother and less violent. And so I've been shooting wood limbs ever since, although the NX-Xp limbs I've only shot in foam. I do have them in wood now, but the NX-Xp feel more wood-like on arrow delivery, whereas these feel more foam-like. Just a little bit more residual vibration or after effects that the wood doesn't suck out as far as dampening is concerned. But as of right now, they still feel good, and I definitely just need to shoot them more before I can give you more insight. they definitely just don't jump quite as hard. They definitely sound more foam-like. Shoot a bare shaft or two here. That is a 410 bare shaft. Very weak. All right, well, I'm gonna go get them. I might have to use 410s. So what's odd is that the knocking point's really low as well. I don't know why the bare shaft would go that high. Different limbs. Everything else is basically the same from the Meta LX that I shot on the indoor round. So I have no idea why it's so different, because it should be the same bow. It should be everything the same. Everything should be the same. I've got these 450s here. The limbs are out all the way. The limbs are the same marked weight as the other limbs, the NS-Xps. So I'm not sure why. Maybe they tuned very different because of the build of the limb. Really, really unsure. I mean, the knocking point does look a little low, but not that low. I'm gonna shoot a couple of the 450s, the bare shafts with the 450s, and then I've got these white ones are 410s. I'm gonna shoot a couple of those so then I can decide which arrow I'm gonna shoot out of this bow. Now a bare shaft. Well, based on that, it's looking like I need to use 410s out of this bow, which is very interesting. I have to go from a 450 to a 410 with nothing more than a limb change, which is quite surprising. Normally, I'm not that far off on guessing my tune, and this one I was a considerable amount off. The knocking point's still slightly off, but to go from a 450 to a 410 is a pretty big change for me. Personally, I'd rather shoot the 450s so I can shoot lighter draw weight. You know, limb variance as far as draw weight does happen when they're marked 42, which mine are. That means it could be between 41 and 43. So maybe these ones are 43 and the other ones are 41. I don't know. Very interesting. Maybe these limbs are a little snappier. I think the curve profile is the same. The limb tips, I think, on this bow are slightly further out because I had to add about 6 to 8 twists into this string to get the same brace height. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple changes here or there. The limbs, though, definitely are smooth, although I wish they were slightly lighter. It's just because I'm out of shooting shape, really. But they're still very, very smooth through the clicker. And it's definitely very predictable as far as how stable they feel when I'm exerting pressure to make the clicker click. I mean, so far the limbs feel good, and the bow is actually a little quieter with the 410s, so happy to report that. All right, so I bumped my rest down as far as it'll go. That'll help with the knocking point issue slightly, and I ended up throwing 2 twists into the string. The brace height was just a little low, and it definitely sounds like it could use something different as far as the brace height's concerned. That should help bring the stiff weak in a little better. If Found out what the noise is. The plunger seems to be loose. Definitely a little quieter. Alright, I'm going to go down and get those and shoot it again, most likely. Definitely is getting much closer. The brace height is much better, so definitely need a little bit higher brace height with these, I think, than the NX-Xps. The bow feels very happy now. It's not so foam-like. Now it's more high-performance-like and less fluttery, less jittery there on the actual delivery of the arrow, or I guess after the delivery of the arrow. I'm gonna go get him. We'll check, see what the tune's doing, and make any adjustments and do it one more time. That's a good shot. Ugh, not a good shot. Yeah, it's just very predictable. It feels like the bow is quite stable. When I go to pull, it stays quite still. It's a little wobbly here or there, but I'm just out of shooting shape. The bow definitely wants to jump nice and straight, and I do like it. It just doesn't quite jump as hard. It's not as punchy as the NX-Xps. These are still snappy, but it doesn't have as much of like a pop, I guess. I can still feel the limbs snapping quite quick. So I'm pretty confident with how I shot that one bear shaft. It was a great shot, and it hit slightly on the weak side by a very, very small margin. I personally like arrows a little bit weaker at distance. They seem to be shooting a little bit better for me, or at least they had in the past. So I'm gonna rock that. That one bear shaft that went high definitely was not a good shot. We're just gonna ignore that one. After I shoot my 70 arrow round, my 70 meter round rather, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check the peak draw weight of these limbs versus the NX-Xps on the other Meta LX. I'll share with you that though before I shoot my 70 meter round, so you can check and see, because it sure feels like the draw weight is heavier on these, the peak weight, but definitely they're easier to manage as far as pulling through the clicker, but they're definitely not quite as stable as far as what I initially feel. Quick test of the MXT-XTs. £47. 46.2. 46.4. Okay, about 46.5 pounds. So the last bow, 46.4. That was with the MXT-XT. The NS feels way lighter. 45.2. 45.2. Let me zero that, make sure. $45.6. So it looks like the NS-Xps tuned a 450 at 1 pound less than the MXT-XT tuned a 410. So for whatever that's worth, Seems like I'm getting better performance out of these NX-Xps, probably much higher efficiency, lighter draw weight, lighter arrow. The 450s are much lighter. I bet you the speeds are much higher. I thought the arrow was taking forever to get down there with the MXT-XTs with the 410s. And if you're interested in learning how I set up and tune my Olympic style recurves, just like I did today, taking stuff out of the box to being comfortable with competing with it at the Olympic Games, I will recommend a book called Tuning for Performance. Links in the description below and a card at the top up there. Check it out if you're interested in learning how I tune and set up my bows. All right, here at 70 meters, the tune definitely was sufficient. There was only about 2.5 inches or so between the 3 flet shafts and the bare shaft down there. So I'm happy to say that that's pretty much dialed in. And what I've got is 2 different color fletchings, orange and white. They're essentially the same thing, just a slightly different offset. So they may group tiny bit different down there as far as placement, but probably not. So I'm gonna score with these, because I don't have 6 arrows built up the same. I was gonna do some fletching repairs, and I haven't been shooting these 410s for a while, so that's why I've got 2 different colors set up here. Pretty easy to shoot bow. I mean, so far, the shots can go quite quick when everything's all there and I can just expand with confidence. It's very, like I said, smoother through the clicker than the NS limbs. So I seem to be able to, I don't know, be able to get through the clicker with a little bit more ease with these limbs. Now on that one, my front bow shoulder crept up a little bit, but I could feel it and I wanted to see how difficult it was to get through the clicker, and it definitely was a little bit harder than I wish, but I mean the bow shoulder was high. I could feel it kind of just creep up that little bit. I was still able to manage it though, it's just the timing went a little bit longer. So it's not like these will be simple or easy to get through the clicker, it's just potentially easier than the NX-Xps. That one made a funny sound. It was probably the best feeling shot of all of them. It's just odd that it made the worst sound, but can't tell if it's my clicker that's off or if it's just me not getting set up consistently on each shot, because the timing is inconsistent so far. I mean, when they go well, they definitely go well. Like that one felt really, really good. All right, so first to end for score. Get up. Not a huge fan of the way it sounds, personally. It's just a little rattly. Maybe stabilizer dampers or something that could be done. Maybe some more brace height adjustment or something, but it just, I don't know. It's not as refined as the NX-Xp sounds for sure, but these are foam. I think the woods would definitely be much different. Got lucky on that one. I thought it was going 8 high left. So 57 to start, not too bad. Considering, you know, last shot not the greatest, the one before not the greatest, and they both hit fairly close to where they should, so I'm happy with that. Like I said, overall, they don't make the nice sound that I'm used to lately. I have been shooting the wood limbs a lot lately, and I've been shooting the NS limbs a lot too, so maybe that's just what it is. But they still feel great, and I can still manage them quite well at full draw. You know, there's still times where I'm letting down. That's mostly because of a mental break. You know, I can tell the shot's going a little long, something doesn't quite feel right, I'm distracted, so I just let down and start over instead of trying to fight through it. Anytime I do that, it never goes well, so I might as well just let down and at least give myself a chance to shoot a 10 instead of forcing myself to shoot an 8. And number 2. Sitting just a little right when it went off. Very quick. Like sometimes those 2 left, they feel so good. The shot breaks great. It's just for some reason the pressure or something drifts slightly left as it's going off. Causes it just to miss the 10 left. That was a good one. Dang. All right, 55. I'm gonna check that low left one and see, it might not be in, but it looks like it is from here. So that one was in fact in, so it's a 55. Fingers are stiff off the string. Good one. Good one. Alright, so I have to go call that low left one. It appears to be out from here, If it is, then it's a 55. If it's in, it's a 56. We'll find out. Lots of 10s help that 7. If it's a 56 with a 7, can't complain. All right, so that was a 55. That last one was definitely out. Get up. Get right. Dang. All right, 56. Pretty good end on that one. Just missing here or there. 2 ends left. Well, I shot a good one on the last one, but a little too much power apparently. So far better to shoot a good one and have it be an 8 and shoot a 58 with 5/10s to lead than to totally mess it up. So wish that was a 10. Haven't shot a 60 yet on the channel, but getting close. 58. All right, last end for score here at 70 meters. Similar to the last shot on the last end. Felt good, went high. Doing something funny then. All right, 54 to end. 112, 111, 112, 335. So one of the better scores I've shot on the channel actually, which is a good thing. And yeah, let me get this out of the way. So that ended up being a 335 here at 70 meters out of 360. It's a pretty solid score, and definitely one of the higher scores I've shot on the channel, which is awesome. And I do like these limbs. They definitely are a little more forgiving to the timing, as far as as long as I'm maintaining a good solid composure and I'm doing my job properly by executing shots how I'm supposed to, they go in the middle. Even if they're a little slow, even if they're a little fast, as long as I do my job, they go in the middle. That's always the case with every set of limbs, but for whatever reason, these limbs, these MXT-XTs, they do feel a little bit more forgiving through that clicker zone to keep the timing relatively consistent. Again, as long as I'm thinking about and doing the right thing. Now, the limbs themselves, the feel of them, it's not as crisp as the NX-Xps. It's not as refined. These definitely feel like there's a little bit to be desired in the vibration department. Although these are foam limbs, I have shot the wood limbs off my barebow and I like those considerably. So I'm assuming that most of that is just in the limb feel because of it being made of foam, or at least the core being made of foam. You know, a little bit of things here or there with some overspray issues that I showed you on the clear coat, and the tips being slightly uneven for some reason, and the paint nibs or chips at the tip where I think they set them down after it's tacked over but not fully cured. But otherwise, I mean, I think the limbs are very, very solid, very lightweight. They seem to be very torsionally rigid and stable. I'll get that data and testing in a little while. Basically, no wear on the limb. There's no wear up there. Just tiny little marks, on the tip. Hoosier. I've been here the whole time, you dummy. Yeah, no marks on the limbs, not even on the base where it was touching the tiller bolt at quite the steep angle. The clear coat on these is very, very hard, as is pretty standard on all Win&Win products. So I'm glad to see that they haven't changed that at all. And the look of the limb, I like the white. I do like the blue graphics on the foam a little bit better than the orange on the wood, for whatever that's worth. They aligned great. They tuned fine. They did tune. I needed a stiffer arrow than the NX-Xps for some reason. Still was able to manage it, and it feels slightly heavier, like I said. So you already know this because I did the test earlier and showed it to you, or I'm doing the test later and I've already showed it to you, but I'm gonna go inside and check and see what the peak draw weight is, and maybe I'll be a bit surprised. One other quick thing before I end this video. I am offering an outdoor training camp of where you can come down here to Florida and enjoy the warmth, so you're not outside freezing half to death, and you're able to get sight marks, get your bow tuned, and work with me over the weekend in March, from March 21st to 23rd. I have details down in the description below. You can head to my website, jkaminski.com. You have to go to the USA shop to see the actual training camp that I'm offering. So if you're interested in coming down, enjoying the warm weather, check that out. Other than that, yeah, I'm very, very happy with how this bow shot. I shot real well today, actually. I haven't shot a score at 70 meters in a considerable amount of time, so very excited and happy to shoot a 335 out of 360. Hey, if you like this video, consider sharing it. Genuinely, that would help this channel out. And if you see people asking about different topics and people looking for advice, if I have a video that I've offered, it would be very, very helpful if you shared with them a video I've already made. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please do consider supporting this channel. There's many different links in the description below. I can't thank my supporters enough. Wouldn't be able to produce this content, at least not to this level, without you. So thanks.